In this video, I'm going to show you how I create a thumbnail in Canva. When I first started my channel, I was using Canva to make my thumbnails because I would just use the same template over and over, but I never really understood how to do it correctly. As I go through this, I'll show you some things I did wrong, probably because I just wanted to do it and get it over with. After I learned Affinity a little better, I stopped using Canva and canceled the subscription. Then Canva bought out Affinity, and Affinity 3 happened, and I ended up back in the Canva fold. When you open Canva, it will look similar to this. You can either have a free version or a paid version. With the paid version, you get more stuff, and the AI function in Affinity 3. I found that after a time, I just needed more stuff. Right here, you'll see everything, all the projects that you've previously done. So I had done a thumbnail here and here, the broken glass effect. Now, if you're going to make a thumbnail from scratch, you'll need to click social media to do your thumbnail. And then right here, it says YouTube thumbnail, so you'll just click that. And then you're going to have yourself a blank screen with the thumbnail format. I'm not going to make this fancy or anything like that. I'll just show you how to put everything in your thumbnail. So over here you have, well, here's your choices. You can either use one of these templates and drag it in and then delete some of the elements off of the template to get what you want, or you can just start from scratch and click on elements, and that's going to give you all these elements over here, the shapes, the graphics, the stickers, photos, and all that sort of thing. Now, what I'm going to illustrate here is a thumbnail for the torn paper effect in Affinity. I'm going to go into, and I think I found it in photos, I'm just going to get me an image of torn paper, and you'll see it's here because I was practicing on it. And I'll just click on it, and that's going to put it on your thumbnail. So you can just stretch it like that, and that's going to put it right there for your torn paper. Now I'll need some text, so I'll click on the text box, and I really like to go down here. I've added a text box every once in a while, but I really like these down here. So basically what I do a lot is I'll just pick one. It doesn't mean that you have to necessarily stick with the font that it gives you. They've been recently used because I've been practicing this video, and that's going to show you that. But if you scroll down, you can find all sorts of interesting things that you can use. So I'll just click on Smart Move and then try to line it up a little bit like that. And then I'll need to click on here so I can type in what I want to have, which will be the torn text effect. I'll just make up anything. Torn text effect. And obviously that's too big, so we'll just hit this little minus and make it go down until it gets to where we want. And I'm not really wild about this font, so I'm going to click this and choose something else. So let me see. Let's take a look at handwriting and see what we have. A lot of times with handwriting, I don't really get what I want. I think what I used before is something that was called Lost in the South, but it doesn't really matter. I'll just pick anything. And then we can see, well, if I did, it's going to be down here. I'll just pick this one, Seasons, and see what that looks like. And then make it littler and pull that out so I can get it to where it's, move it up here, torn text effect, and then down here I'll just type in Affinity. I've been kind of going back and forth between saying Affinity 3 and Affinity, but Affinity now is Affinity 3. So basically, that's what we're going to do here. And right now it's in a font that's called Quiche Display. And I am going to select this again, or select that again, and see what we have, and select the text. This is just to show you how to do this. And I'm going to select Canva Student Font. And make sure I can select this box and move it down a little bit and get it to where it's kind of centered. And the lines will pop up to make sure that it's centered. Okay, so now we have that, and we need to get it placed the way you want and centered the way you want. And here I have Torn Text Effect in Affinity. Now if you want to, you can change the color. So I'm going to click on Text Color, and let's just explore down here and see what we have. I really, really love gradients. Ever since I started learning Affinity, I am just hooked on them. So I just kind of click on the gradients and see what we have. And so there's one gradient. And actually, I kind of like that. And this other one, I think I'm going to keep that in black and stick with that. If you're wondering how to save this, in your normal files, you go File, Save As, give it a file name, and then navigate to where you want to save it. I generally save everything I have on the desktop, and then that's that, and it's saved. But Canva will save everything for you, and if you look at this little cloud here, it says all changes are saved. And it's saved under the file name Torn Text Effect, so it's sort of made up its own file name. So the question is, if it's saved, where did it go? Well, you can make it go to two places. You can either export it out, that means you download it, or if you want to save it for later in the program, then what you're going to do is you're going to move it into some folder. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is store it in the program, and then I'll show you how to download it. So you'll click on over here, you'll click on this folder that says projects. So you're going to click on the projects, and you're going to see that I have all right here, and all my designs, the recent ones that I've done, and I have this folder called thumbnails. So what I'll do is I'll click on thumbnails, and there's all my thumbnails in there. And then I will go to File, and I'll go to Move. And then this will bring up everything where you want to move it to. And since this is a thumbnail, I'm going to move it to thumbnails. As you can see, all I have is a video intro I did, and I have something that I put in there. So you're going to click on thumbnail like that, and then you're going to click on Move. This was the most confusing thing, because when I clicked on Move, I expected to for it to ask me something, and it never did do that, and that's where I had to figure out, oh, it was doing that. Anyway, sometimes it takes a little while to find it. So now it has 9 thumbnails in there, and here we have the Torn Text Effect, which is marked as a design, and so you click on it and there it is. Okay, now the other thing we can do is we can export it out. So I will go Share, you go Share, and then you go Download, and click on Download again. Now make sure that it's the correct file type. With thumbnails, I generally pick PNG, but you can see that there's a whole lot of things you can choose from, but for a thumbnail, we'll pick PNG. All my thumbnails are PNGs. And then I'll click Download, and then it's going to say that it's downloading. And once it's done, you can open the file, and then from here go File, Save, and Save As, and save it to my desktop as a PNG. And if I do this, you'll notice that there it is. So we are done with that part. Okay, now, what if you want to use the same thing over and over? Now, this is what I used to do, and it didn't work. I used to go home and go where all of my stuff was, and notice here that you have the torn text effect, and it's there under recents, and it should be there under recents. So I would go, okay, well, I want to use this as a template, and then I'm just going to use the same thing over and over and over again. But you can't do that. And the reason that you can't do that is because all it will do is when you open it up like that, okay, there it is, and then you try to edit it, it's going to just replace everything in the edit. So if you would substitute torn text effects with cracked glass effect or whatever, then when you open up torn text effect, it's going to show all the edits that you did to the cracked glass, because all it knows is this is the original one and all you're doing is editing over it. And I used to try to do that, and I was pulling my hair out because I couldn't figure out where all my old stuff went. So this is what you're going to need to do if you want to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to go like you're going to start a new project. So let's get out of here, and let's get out of here, and then let's go down here like we're going to start a whole new thing. So I'm back to the home page, and you will go to Projects, and see there's my recent designs, torn text effects. You're going to go to Projects. Well, first thing you're going to need to do is to pretend like you're going to start a new project. So let's go back one. You have to pretend like you're going to start a new project. So you're going to go here, go to social media, go to your thumbnail, and now it's kind of like we're starting it from scratch. But instead of starting it from scratch, what you're going to do is you're going to go to your folders. So right here are all my old projects. So I'm going to click on the project, and I'm going to go to my folders right here, and there I have thumbnails, and finally this showed up. Now this is one thing I want you to notice. Sometimes it takes a while for Canva to save things. So if something doesn't show up right away, do not panic. It will. Just give it a minute or two and it will be there, trust me. And that's the same for things that show up for previous creations on your home page. Sometimes it won't show up right away, so just give it a chance. Okay, it's like I'm going to do a new project, but I'm not going to do a new project. I want to use one of my old thumbnails as a template. So all I'm going to do is, let's pretend like I'm going to use this one. I'm going to click on this one, and it all of a sudden goes into there. Then up here it says Untitled Design, and let's just name it anything. So what were we doing? Ripped paper effect. I'm going to do a ripped paper effect in the future. That's why it's on my mind, so we might as well do that. Okay, so there's ripped paper effect. So that's my new thing that I'm doing. And it knows that it's not this one because I started a new project. I'm just using this. So now all we have to do is to change this, get this off of here. And I was using this background for the longest time, but it would never save as a new one, so it got to be pretty weird. Okay, so I'll just call this Affinity 3. Maybe make it a little bit bigger since we don't have as much verbiage. Make this a little bigger. So now we'll just make all my alterations, and I don't want mini reviews anymore. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to click, 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 and just call that using ripped paper effect, or whatever you're working on. And ripped has 2 P's. Okay, so I want this to be a little bit bigger, so I'll just make it bigger. So now that we don't have that thing in there, it looks a lot smarter. So there's the rip paper effect, and then we can either keep this, which I probably would, or we can change it to something else. But I think you get the idea. So you're going to change all of your elements that you're going to change, and then what you can do is you can just save it as this rip paper effect thumbnail by exporting it out. And of course I always export them out because I'm using them as thumbnails. Or you can just, and look up there, it's all changes are saved, so you know they're saving it. They are not saving it over this, and I'll prove that that's true once we get done with this. So we can just go to File, and we can go to Move, and go to Thumbnails, and then move it. And then it says Rip Paper Effect has been moved to Thumbnails. And so the rip paper effect has been moved to thumbnails. Again, just like the last time, it's going to take it a while for it to think about you and show up, but trust me, it will do that. And as you'll notice, it did not replace this one. So if you're going to use the same background or the same template over and over again, that's what you need to do. You need to pretend like you're starting a new project, whatever it is, whether it's a presentation, a thumbnail, or whatever, and then you're just going to click on the template that you're using. If it's a presentation and it has the same beginning and ending page, all you would have to do is to add your pages. So if we go back to our recents, it's going to appear there. The file has already appeared there, it's just the picture that hasn't, and it's going to show up as edited just now. So once it's finished thinking about you, then it's going to show up there. Okay, because this one did. Notice how long that it took. Okay, so that's 2 ways that you can make a thumbnail, or any other design for that matter. It doesn't have to be a thumbnail, so give it a try and see what you can create. I've actually heard that teachers are using Canva for their presentations these days. I've been out of the business for a while and was an avid PowerPoint user. If there are any teachers out there using Canva for their presentations, please let me know. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to keep up to date on my next video. And travel out to my Buy Me a Coffee webpage so you can take a look at my latest posts.